Hey friends, tonight we begin with Wouldn't Survive a Night in Ancient Rome. Before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, only if you truly enjoy this kind of slow, calming storytelling. Your support means the world and helps me keep creating peaceful spaces like this one. Tell me in the comments where you're watching from, and what time it is for you right now. I love seeing how this little quiet corner of the internet brings together people from all over the world now. Dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan or some soft background, and let's gently into tonight's journey together. You arrive not at dawn, not under the harsh sun of the Roman Forum, not in the bustle of chariots or the roar of the Colosseum. You arrive instead at the hour when the city sighs and dims, when the smoke from evening cookfires begins to curl. Above the tiled rooftops and the narrow alleyways grow thick with shadow. It's nearly night in ancient Rome, and you, for all your modern thoughts and comforts, are not ready. The city at dusk is not a quiet place. It murmurs, it mutters, it groans. From the gutters that run down the cobbled streets, water trickles past fish bones and spilled wine. From behind shuttered stalls and woven screens, voices rise, children squabbling, merchants counting coins, a sudden curse in Latin you do not understand. But the light is changing, and that matters most. In ancient Rome, the day is ruled by the sun, and the night belongs to everything else. Without clocks, time bends to the rhythm of lamps being lit and doors being bolted. The oil lamps flicker in doorways and cast long fingers of flame across stone walls. They burn olive oil thick, sticky, smoky. The smell is earthy, greasy, and it sticks to your nostrils. A single lamp offers little light, but in Rome, it's enough to stretch a shadow. You try to walk quietly, though your shoes, far too modern, slap awkwardly against the uneven stones. Everything here is hard. The air, the streets, the way people look at you. Their robes swish past, their tunics dusted in the city's powdery grime, their sandals worn to the soles. You don't look Roman, you don't move Roman, and in the growing dark, that's not safe. No one speaks to you yet, but they notice that first. You try to smile, to nod, to look casual. But here, in the Superotha crowded, twisted district where Rome breathes, thickest casual is something earned, not worn. You pass a butcher locking up his stall, dragging heavy wooden shutters across raw red meat. A woman empties a pot from her window above. You flinch as it splashes near your feet. It's not water. The smell rises. Rome does not hide its filth. It stews in it. You step into a doorway, breath shallow, as a pair of men pass by, speaking low and fast. Their tunics are too clean. Their eyes scan too quickly. They do not glance at you, and that is what makes you nervous. In this part of Rome, being ignored is not safety. It is permission. You move again, deeper into the alleyways. The walls are close. Stone rubbed smooth by centuries of passing shoulders. Some are covered in faded graffiti. You squint, Latin letters scratched in coal and chalk. Jokes, names, prayers. Love, confessions, threats, all pressed together, layer upon layer. Like the skin of the city, you wonder if any of them still live. You pass a public fountain. It burbles faintly. A slave boy fills a clay jug while his master waits behind him. They don't look at you, but a dog does. Mangy rib-thin, watching from beneath a wooden cart. Its eyes are bright, yellowed, and hungry. You keep moving. You haven't eaten, and even if you had, your stomach would still turn. Rome smells different after sunset. Less of people, more of things people leave behind. The fish gone bad in the marketplace, the vomit outside a tavern door, the sharp acid of old urine baking on sun-warmed stone. You try to breathe through your mouth, but that doesn't help either. Your throat is dry. You think of water, but this is not your time, and not your place. You are beginning to feel it, the ancientness of it, the weight of living in a world where no switch can summon light, no lock can guarantee safety, and no bed waits for you unless you have earned it or taken it. The sun has set fully now. Rome is lit only by scattered lamps, some placed in doorways, some in wall niches, some carried in hands. They sputter, they dim, they die. And when they do, the dark is complete. You begin to understand. This is not the past as it was taught. In books, it is not marble columns and laurel wreaths. It is not golden armor or speeches in the Senate. It is dirt beneath the fingernails, smoke in the lungs, and always watching the shadows for the things that move within them. You reach a crossroad for narrow lanes diverge, each barely wider than your shoulders. You look down each one, they all vanish into black. Somewhere, a voice calls out in pain. You step back, pressing yourself into the crook of a doorway, heart tight. A figure runs past, bare feet, torn tunic. You do not follow, you do not ask, because you are learning. Night in ancient Rome does not wait for you to be brave. It does not pause to let you catch your breath. You will not last if you move too quickly, but you will not last if you stay still. This is the truth of the first hour, the hour of shadows, and already Rome knows you are here. You choose a direction. It's not wisdom, it's not instinct. It's the need to move, to make any choice rather than none. So you slip into the alley on your left, narrower than the others, the walls leaning close enough to brush your shoulders. As you pass, overhead, a tangle of wooden beams and hanging cloth turns the passage into a tunnel. A thick rope swings low from a balcony above. Someone has used it to dry clothing, woolen tunics. A pair of sandals hanging by their laces. One drips onto your shoulder. It smells of vinegar and ash. The ground under your feet shifts. The paving stones are cracked, missing in places, and slick with something you don't want to name. You slip once, catch yourself on the wall, then press on, hunched, cautious. Like a cat avoiding a dog it cannot see. Then comes the light. It leaks from an open doorway, a header warm, flickering amber that stretches uneven shapes across the alleys. Far wall, shadows shift inside. Voices rise and fall, sometimes laughing, sometimes slurred. You approach, drawn to it like a moth. Inside, a peppina, a tavern, a Roman one, not the kind built for senators or poets. This is a place for workers. Freedmen, night guards, thieves. You smell wine, sour and thick, roasted beans, stew with more bones than meat. The firelight dances behind a marble counter stained with age and spilled broth. Behind it, an older man stirs a pot and glares at nothing. A few drinkers glance up at you. One snorts. Another raises an eyebrow, then turns back to her wine. They don't know you, but they know you don't belong. Your clothes, your gait, your silence, they betray you. Still, you step inside, because the firelight is real, because it chases the cold from your fingertips, because even a little safety, even if false, feels worth the price. You press your back to a plaster wall and slide down into a squat. You keep your hands in your lap. You try to look tired but harmless. The language around you is fast, full of slang and slur. Latin, Yes, but not the kind etched on monuments. This is gutter Latin, market Latin, shortened, bent, twisted by generations. Of mouths you understand none of it. A wooden bowl is slapped on the counter. Coins clink. A man lifts his drink and toasts something. A few laugh. Someone spits on the floor. You flinch. Not from fear, but from how. Much like home it feels. There is nothing timeless about this tavern. It is a human space. Ugly, alive, temporary. The kind of place where people sit, not because they want to but because they have nowhere else to be. It smells of oil, damp wool, and smoke that never leaves the lungs. Someone burns a sprig of rosemary in the coals to chase away the stink. It doesn't help. The tavern keeper eyes you now. He says nothing, just watches. Not angry, not curious, just calculating. The same way he would look at spilled wine or a cracked jar. Something to be dealt with later. You shift your weight. Your stomach growls. You don't ask for food. You wouldn't. Know how to say it. And you have nothing to trade. No coin, no favors, no power. And yet the man approaches. He carries a bowl, half full. Barley stew, thickened with beans. Maybe a scrap of meat. He sets it down near you, not close, not kindly, walks away. You wait, you watch, but no one moves to take it. So you lean forward, pick up the bowl, and eat. It is hot, it is salty, it is real. And for the first time since this strange night began, something in you unclenches. Your hands stop shaking, your eyes stop darting. You feel not safe, but slightly less breakable. But this moment cannot last. The door bursts open behind you. 3 men step in, half drunk, loud. One wears a soldier's belt, another a torn cloak. The third has a knife tucked into his sash. They are not here for food, not really. They come for noise, for warmth. For some measure of control they cannot find elsewhere. They don't see you at first, but when they do, your stillness, your silence, they stop. They don't say anything, but they've seen you, and now the room has changed. You place your empty bowl aside. You rise slowly. You do not make eye contact. You step toward the door, heart crawling up your throat. No one stops you. But the silence behind you is different now. You step back into the street, and the cold bites harder than before. The firelight behind you fades, and the shadows greet you. Again, you press onward. You've eaten, you've found warmth. But the city is not finished with you, and the night is only beginning. The street outside the tavern is colder now, not by much, but you feel it more. Maybe it's the sweat cooling on your skin. Or maybe it's what you saw in their eyes. Those 3 men who watched you leave. Not curious, not hostile, just aware. That kind of attention in a Roman alley can stick to your back for a long time. You move on. The lamps are fewer here. The alleyways less defined. The cobbles give way to packed dirt, and the buildings lean. Heavier, you pass shuttered windows where faint sounds drift through. A child crying, the low murmur of argument, a coughing fit that doesn't stop. The walls feel closer, not just in space, but in intent. Everything in this part of the city seems built to hide, and you're starting to understand why. You pass a doorway where an old woman sits hunched on a stool. She knits something with coarse wool, her eyes half-lidded. She sees you but doesn't react. Her fingers keep moving. The doorway beside her is painted red. You don't understand what that means until you notice the men lingering near it. One leans against the archway, arms crossed, speaking softly to no one. You don't look long, just enough to know you've wandered into another place where you are not meant to be. You keep walking. A courtyard opens to your right, set low, half below the street line. A narrow stair curves down, slick with grime. You pause. Listen, hear the trickle of water. A Casa Insulayan apartment block. The kind rented by families who couldn't afford anything better. 3, sometimes 4 stories high. Walls patched with plaster and timber. Laundry hangs between windows. A clay lamp burns in a niche on the stair. A dog sleeps by the door. Ribs rising slow and thin. You descend, not because it's safe, but because standing still in Rome after dark feels worse than walking anywhere. Inside the courtyard, it's almost peaceful. A small well, a few pots, clay urns stacked beside a stairwell. Above, the balconies lean inward as if whispering secrets to one another. The people here are quiet, their windows shut, curtains drawn. You wonder who lives behind them. A child's laugh cuts. Through the silence, you turn. A girl peers at you from behind a woven curtain. Not afraid, just curious. Her hair is in loose braids. She wears a tunic too large for her. She stares for a moment, then disappears again. You wonder what she thinks of you. You look nothing like her people. You don't carry water. You don't speak. You have no tools, no sandals, no badge of trade. To her, you are a shape that doesn't belong. And yet for a heartbeat you are something new, something worth looking at. You sit by the well. The stone rim is smooth and cold. You glance in, but cannot see the water. Just your reflection in the darkness, pale, gaunt. Not Roman, not any more modern either. Somewhere between unnamed, your feet ache, your knees throb. The stew from earlier sits heavy in your stomach. You breathe deeply, and for the first time, the air does not burn your throat. It's still heavy, still full of smoke and sweat and oil. But you've learned to take it in slowly, like the Romans do. With measured patience, the door beside you creaks open. A man emerges. Older, bareheaded, wrapped in a wool cloak. He sees you. He pauses. Then, without a word, he pours a cup of water from a jug, sets it near the well, and walks back inside. No kindness, no hostility, just motion, like a habit. You drink it. It's cool. Tastes of stone and rust and ash. But it is water, and you feel it, down to your bones. You rise again, because the courtyard will not keep you. No one will ask you to stay. And the longer you linger, the more questions you invite. Rome has no room for stillness unless you've earned it. You step back into the street. The sounds have shifted. Fewer voices now, more footsteps, more of them fast. A cry in the distance. Not pain, not joy, just loud. The hour is turning. The markets are shut. The food is gone. The thieves come soon. The drunks stagger home. And you are still outside. Behind closed courtyards, there is warmth. There are beds rough and flea-bitten, but still beds. There are oil lamps with steady flames. Clay tiles that keep the night at bay. People press close, not out of love, but out of need. In a Roman home, space is shared, breath is shared, and sometimes that is the only thing keeping life in your lungs. But you have no home here, and every step forward feels heavier, not because of your body, but because of time. You are starting to realize you are not just in the past. You are in the dark of the past, and it does not care how well you can read about it. It cares only if you can survive it. You walk slower now, not because of fear, exactly, but because fear has settled into something steadier. It has become awareness, a sort of quiet that moves with you like a shadow. You are not hunted, not chased, but you are watched. Rome watches itself after dark, not with laws, not with guards, with eyes behind shutters, eyes from rooftops, eyes from doorways where no sound escapes. You begin to feel them, those small silences that thicken when you approach. The way the city seems to pause when your footsteps echo too loud. The way nothing answers when you speak aloud, just to hear your own voice. There are no welcome signs in ancient Rome, no open hands, only thresholds. And those too are guarded. You pass a corner shrine carved into a crumbling wall, a little niche with a soot-darkened figure inside. You can't tell which god it is, Janus, Mercury, a house spirit. The statue is half smeared with ash and wax. Offerings lie beneath it, withered herbs, a copper coin, a crust of bread, so hard it's turned grey. You pause, look at the god, say nothing, but you bow your head, not out of belief, out of etiquette, because here, even gods expect manners. You move on. The street opens slightly, not wide, but enough to allow a breath of sky. You see the stars now. They shimmer faintly above. The rooftops, broken into pieces by chimneys and laundry lines. One star falls, or maybe it doesn't. Maybe it was a spark, drifting from a torch in the distance. You can't tell anymore what belongs to the heavens and what belongs to Rome. The street curves, you follow, and there suddenly you see them. The vigils, Rome's night watch. Their cloaks are dark, their torches steady. They walk in pairs, slowly, speaking in low tones. One carries a staff, the other a bucket of water. They are not soldiers, not exactly, but they are not to be crossed. Their job is fire, crime, and quiet. If a fight breaks out, they settle it. If a flame starts, they smother it. If someone is where they should not be, someone like you, they ask questions, or they don't. They just make you disappear. You shrink back into a doorway, not hiding, just waiting. The vigils pass without slowing. You are lucky, maybe they didn't notice. Maybe they didn't care. Or maybe they recognized that look on your face, the one of a soul too tired to cause trouble. You exhale, you step back into the path, and Rome exhales with you. Not kindly, just for now. Ahead is a fountain, larger than the last, more ornate. A lion's head juts from the wall, its stone mouth gushing water into a cracked basin below. A slave woman kneels beside it, scrubbing linen. She looks up as you approach. Her expression doesn't change. She just shifts slightly, placing her body between you and her water jug. She is small, but her shoulders are firm. You nod, step wide. Keep your distance. She watches until you're past. Everyone watches. Because that is how you live here. You are always accounting for what others might need, what they might take, what they might notice. In ancient Rome, survival is not about strength. It is about sense, and most of all, about timing. You turn down another alley, narrow, almost blind, and then, something new, a breeze, faint but real. It carries the salt of the river, the musk of the Tiber. You've wandered closer than you meant to, closer to the old port, where the warehouses squat low and wide, where crates are stacked like tombs, where rats are braver and dogs move in packs. You pause. Somewhere beyond the wall, someone sings. A low, lonesome tune. A dockworker maybe. Or someone drunk and alone. You listen. Not to understand the words, but to hear the rhythm. It's a lullaby meant, not for children, but for the city. A hush, a breath, a cradle made of bricks and shadows. You lean against the wall, close your eyes, and for a moment you almost drift, not asleep, but somewhere near it, until something clatters behind you, sharp, metallic, fast. You open your eyes. A shape darts past. A dog, its ribs flash in the torchlight, its breath ragged. You step back, heart kicking. No one follows. No danger, but still your body remains alert, stiff, raw, because here, rest is dangerous, and comfort is a lie the night tells you before it robs you blind. You keep walking. Not far now, you've decided. You'll find a place to stop, to crouch, to wait for dawn. A covered stall, maybe, or the corner of a bakery. Somewhere you can press your back to stone and pretend to sleep, because no one truly sleeps in ancient Rome. They just close their eyes and hope the dark doesn't choose them. You find a place, not a safe place. Not truly, but it has 4 walls and a ledge low enough to sit on. It's the remnants of a stall of fruit seller's bench, maybe closed for the night. The awning above is torn, but still hangs like a tired flag, fluttering with the breeze from the river. You curl against the wall and tuck your hands into your tunic. There are no blankets in this part of Rome, no comfort. Only stone and splinters and the chill of air that moves like a whisper. But your body is learning. It bends differently now. You draw your knees to your chest and lean your head sideways. You slow your breath, keeping your ears alert for footsteps. You don't close your eyes. Not fully. You just wait. And Rome waits with you. Somewhere down the alley, a man hums softly. His voice is low, cracked by wine or time. The tune repeats, over and over, like a loop in a dream. It helps. Not because it soothes you, but because it means someone else is awake. You don't want to be the only one awake, because if you are, the night belongs to you, and Rome has sharp teeth in the dark. You begin to drift, not to sleep, but into a state of half-dash presence. Your mind wanders. It starts imagining things that might help. Blankets, locks, a flashlight, a phone, the absurd comforts of the world you left. You even reach into your pocket before remembering that there is nothing there. No signal, no apps, no calendar. No help, just the hiss of oil lamps burning low. The murmur of tired voices behind the shutters. The occasional bark of a dog in the distance. Then the silence shifts. You feel it before you hear it. The kind of silence that creeps. A hush that pulls the breath out of the alley, like water draining. From a cracked jug, you sit up, not all the way. Just enough to peer beyond the edge of your stall. At first, you see nothing, but then movement. A figure, then 2, moving with practiced steps. Not soldiers, not vigils. These men do not carry torches. They do not want to be seen. Their clothing is dark. Their feet are wrapped for silence. One of them wears a scarf over his mouth. The other carries a short club tucked under his belt. You press yourself into the stone and still your breath. They pass within a few feet of you. Their eyes do not turn, but they know you're there. They can smell you. They know you're not one. Of them, you do not belong to the night. Not yet, not like they do. These are the real threats in Rome after dark. Not ghosts, not monsters, but men who know the alleyways like the back of their weathered hands. Men who can walk across rooftops without breaking a tile. Men who can slit a throat in the dark and vanish before the first drop of blood touches the ground. You stay frozen, they pass. You wait a full minute before moving again, because sometimes it's not the danger that kills you. It's the belief that it has already passed. You stand slowly, your legs ache, your back is sore, but you keep moving, weaving deeper into the city's underlayer, past closed. Thermopolia, their fires long since extinguished. Past wine shops locked behind wooden grates. Past public baths, now cold and dark, their marble walls casting long reflections in puddled moonlight. And then new sound, laughter, high, broken, uncontrolled. You pause at the corner and look. A group, 4 or 5. Young men, stumbling through the street with wine jugs in hand. Their togas are filthy, their hair wild. One sings, one shouts, one hurls a clay cup at a wall and cheers when it shatters. They don't see you, they don't care. They are rich enough or protected enough to treat the city like a toy. And for a moment, you wonder, are they braver than you, or simply more foolish? They pass, their noise fades, and the silence returns. But now, it's thinner, like paper stretched over flame. You keep moving. You pass a doorway where someone lies curled on the ground, a beggar, asleep. His feet bare, his tunic thin. He doesn't move when you approach. You don't know if he's sleeping or something else. You do not check. Not out of cruelty, but because in Rome, the dead and the living sleep in the same shapes. You turn your head and keep walking. The streets curve again. They always do. Rome was never a city of straight lines. It grew like ivy, crawling outward from its old heart, twisting to fit the land and the lives that built it. You walk until your knees shake, until your breath comes shallow, until the ache behind your eyes feels louder than the world around you, and still, the city does not end. It just folds in on itself, again and again, and you are lost, truly lost. Not just directionally, but historically, existentially, emotionally. You are a ghost in someone else's night, and the dawn feels impossibly far. You don't know how long you've been walking. Time doesn't behave here the way it does in your world. There are no streetlights ticking through the hours. No glowing screens reminding you of the time you should already be asleep. There is only your breath, your heartbeat, the uneven rhythm of your steps on stone, and the ever-present dark. The streets are winding now, thinner than before. You're in a part of the city that wasn't planned. It was added, like clay pressed into cracks. Haphazard, necessary, alive. The buildings crowd each other, overlapping like fish scales. Wooden beams stretch between upper stories, creating a canopy overhead. Everything leans inward, even the silence. The air here is heavier, thicker with old smells and unseen eyes. Then comes a flicker, just a sliver of orange behind a narrow crack in a doorway. You inch closer, not to intrude, just to see. Just to feel warmth without asking inside firelight. Dancers on plaster walls. A small family sits near a hearth no larger than a cupboard. The parents are quiet. The children are curled together like puppies. A pot hangs over the coals. Something steams beans or lentils, or perhaps something even simpler. One of the children coughs. The mother adjusts the blanket around him. You stay in the shadows, just long enough to remember what safety once felt like. You wonder how they live here, in such tightness. So many bodies pressed together. No privacy, no silence, no door they can lock from the inside. And yet they have something you don't. They belong. You step back. A loose tile cracks beneath your foot. Inside, someone glances toward the door. You're already gone. You drift down another lane here. The buildings are lower, the walls older. You see niches carved into stone, filled with burned offerings and empty vessels. Little shrines, not temples, not places of ceremony. These are offerings to Lorez household spirits, guardians of corners, of thresholds, of the thin space between inside and out. The Romans believed everything had a spirit, a place, a mood, even shadows, especially shadows. You wonder if the ones watching you now are human or something else. You pass a collapsed wall, a pile of bricks, and timber, crumbled from rot or time or both. Something scurries behind it. You freeze. It's gone. A rat, maybe, or a cat, or something with no name that only comes out at night. You turn your head. A staircase descends into the earth. You hesitate then. Follow it. It leads to a cellar storage chamber, perhaps, or a buried tavern. These spaces are everywhere in Rome, beneath shops, beneath homes, dug into the earth like secret thoughts. The walls are cold, damp. The air smells like mildew and salt and dust, older than memory. You hear voices, not loud, not sharp, just present. Men, maybe 3 of them, seated around a low brazier. You can't see them clearly, only their shadows on the far wall. Their speech is rough, quick, fragments of trade talk. One of them laughs, but not kindly. There's a knife on the table. You can tell by the way it gleams. You back away. One of them turns, but you're already climbing again. Back into the air, into the street where at least the wind still moves. Rome hides its dangers underground, but it doesn't trap them there. You return to the higher paths, the walkways between shops, the alleys behind taverns, the strips of stone worn smooth by, thousands of sandals. The sky above has shifted again. It's darker now, but not in a way that makes sense. It feels as if the night itself has grown thicker, pressing downward, the kind of darkness that sits behind your eyes and beneath your ribs, the kind that listens. You pass another fountain. This one has gone dry. The basin is cracked, the spout chipped. Someone has filled it with broken pottery, and Rags, an old man, sleeps beside it, or pretends to. You don't check. The lamps here are dimmer, the shutters tighter. Even the rats seem quieter. This is the Rome people don't carve into stone. The Rome that breathes beneath the official one. Not emperors or aqueducts, but hunger, mistrust, necessity. You find a ledge and sit. Let your body sink. Let the ache settle into your bones. You try to count the hours until dawn. You lose track before you reach 10, because hours don't live here. Only eyes and fire, and the slow turning of breath in a city that never truly sleeps. Your body is sore now, not just from walking or crouching, or the stone that bruises beneath every step, but from holding yourself so tightly, from listening too long, from never once letting your guard fall completely. It's not fear anymore. It's fatigue. But Rome doesn't care that you're tired. It doesn't stop for your aching legs or spinning thoughts. It simply keeps living. And part of you begins to accept that, because what else can you do? You rise again, each movement slower than the last, but somehow steadier. Your muscles have begun to adapt to the uneven stones. Your eyes, at least, are starting to see in the dim. Not truly, but better. You can tell now when a shadow is a person, and when it's just a broken cart leaning on its axle. You can sense when the silence is harmless, and when it's watching you. You still can't tell time, but the smell has changed. That's how you know. The night is deepening. There's a scent in the air now that you didn't notice before, not the sour mix of oil and waste and sweat you've come to expect. This one is sharper, metallic, burnt dot. You follow it, not because you want to, because Rome leaves you little choice. The smell leads you toward a larger road. Not wide, like the processional ways used by senators and generals, but broader than the alleys you've wandered. The paving stones here are smoother, newer even. They gleam faintly in the low lamplight, wet from the mist that's begun to settle, and then, as you turn a corner, you see it smoke. Not the thin thread of oil lamps or cook fires, but black smoke, heavy and slow. You're not the only one who sees it. A group of vigils rushes past you, their sandals slapping the stones. They carry buckets, clubs, a horn one of them hasn't yet blown. You step back into a doorway and watch them vanish around. The bend of fire has started. Somewhere nearby, you move closer, drawn by the heat now prickling the air. You don't approach the flames you'd never survive. But you reach the edge of a square. A row of shop fronts stands ahead. One of them is aflame, not fully, not yet. Just one side crackling, glowing, biting upward into the woodwork like an angry god. A crowd has formed, not to help to watch, to whisper. A few shout orders. A man tries to throw water from a cracked jug. Another curses the gods. A child cries until someone pulls him away. And behind it all, the fire dances. You realize, slowly, that you're not afraid of the fire. You're afraid of what comes after. Because in Rome, a fire doesn't just consume buildings, it consumes blame. Someone will be held responsible, and it won't be the merchant who left his coals too close to the curtain. It won't be the vigils who arrived too late. It won't be the landlord who patched the roof with dry thatch. It will be the outsider, the wanderer, the one no one recognizes. You step away carefully, slowly. You don't run. That would be worse. Just one step, and then another, until the smoke fades behind you and your breath stops. Catching in your throat. Rome has burned before, and it will burn again, but not with you in the middle of it. The smell clings to your hair, your clothes. You rub your arms as if to scrape it off. You wonder how long it will linger, how many days a person has to live here before they stop smelling of ash. You wander east now, or what you think is east. There are no stars to guide you, just the feel of the wind. You pass another fountain. This one trickles. Just barely, an old man sits beside it, eyes closed, lips moving in what might be prayer or memory. He doesn't open his eyes as you pass. He's seen everything before. You wonder how old he is. 40, 60. In Rome, that difference is not so wide. Most people do not live long enough to measure time in decades. Their faces wrinkle early, their teeth go fast, their backs bend from hauling wood or carrying water. The city takes little bits from everyone, year by year, like tribute, and still they survive. You, on the other hand, are fading, not dying, not sick, just dimming, like a lamp running low, because the night stretches on, and you've begun to forget what silence without tension feels like. what warmth without consequence tastes like, what the world smelled like before oil and sweat and stone. You keep walking, because what else is there? A few more turns, a few more shadows, another hour, maybe two, until the sky hints at color, until birds begin to stir, until the city opens its eyes again and pretends none of this happened. Rome will rise at dawn like it always does. But you are not made for nights like this. The city doesn't sleep. It may go quiet, it may slow its breath and dim its flames, but it never truly rests. Not in the way you hoped. Not in the way the world above does your world, where silence means peace and night means pause. Here, the dark is not a blanket, it is a mirror. It shows you things in their truest shape. And now, as you walk the thinning streets near the edge of the Subura, you see what Rome looks like at its most honest. A city stripped of ceremony. The graffiti is easier to read in the slanted torchlight. Carvings of lewd scenes, scribbled oaths, names etched beside threats, scratched over again by someone else's insult. The walls are diaries no one asked for, and everyone reads them. You pass a tavern's side wall. Someone has drawn a donkey with the face of a man, a name underneath. Another insult, another laugh, long forgotten. This is the hour when secrets stop hiding. You begin to notice doors opening just a few dot. Quietly women stepping out with their shawls drawn tight. Not housewives, not vendors, not temple girls. These are women who move through alleys like cats, nodding to men who wait in corners. There is no ceremony, no shame. It's survival, it's business. It's the same as it ever was. Rome doesn't punish those who adapt it, punishes those who don't. You glance down at your own feet, dusty, blistered. You feel your body's refusal now, humming low in your calves and shoulders. But it's too late for exhaustion. This is the hour when you must not stop. You pass a taberna, still shuttered. The scent of old flour and wine-soaked what clings to the doorframe. Someone sleeps inside, you think, maybe two, curled on straw mats behind the counter. You envy them, not for what they have, but for what they don't need to fear, because they belong here. You are still just passing through, and the city knows it. A wind kicks up, sudden and sharp, swirling dust around your ankles. It carries a scent with it not. Smoke, this time, not wine or rot, but iron, metal, blood. You freeze. It's faint, but real and old. You follow the curve of the road, and there, at the bottom of a slope, you see the mouth of something vast. The arena, not the Colosseum, but a smaller amphitheater, built of brick and shadows, used for smaller games, private executions, illicit brawls after curfew. It sleeps during the day, its purpose forgotten by those who have better things to do. But now it breathes. You don't enter. You don't even cross the threshold. But even from the outside, you can feel what it holds. Blood on stone, sand that remembers screaming, wooden gates that groaned open for people who never walked back through them. The iron scent sharpens. Your feet move faster. You turn away. There are sounds you don't want to chase. You pass a guard. Post-empty. Just a stool, a torch stand, and a sleeping dog. The torch is still warm. Whoever was here left recently. Maybe to follow a cry. Maybe to chase a thief. Or maybe to disappear into the dark for reasons no one will ever ask about. You turn into a side lane. It narrows fast. A tangle of beams crisscrosses above your head. The smell changes, a gentle and tannins and dust. You've reached a potter's quarter. Clay scraps crunch beneath your sandals. You pass ovens that have gone cold for the night. Rows of stacked plates, unfinished, left to harden in the open. Air dot and beyond, them barely visible in the dims, a woman hunched beside a kiln. Her hands still busy. She doesn't look up. She works by memory now. The night doesn't end her labor. It simply changes it. You watch her for a moment, then walk on. Not far now. The air is thinning. Not cleaner, just lighter. And the sky has changed. Not color, exactly, but texture. You begin to sense where the east is not from stars, but from a softness creeping in. A change in the way shadows fall, in the way the city sounds. Fewer footsteps now, more birds, just one or two, but enough to tell you the night is breaking, but not fast enough, because in this last hour, when everything feels slow and stretched and tender, the city becomes most dangerous. This is the hour when thieves make their last rounds, when drunken fights turn silent, when breath is SHLLOWEST and trust. Most expensive, you find a corner to wait, behind a shuttered booth, beneath a crumbling awning. Just one more hiding place, one more pause. You curl in on yourself, knees drawn, head resting on your arm. You tell yourself it's almost over. You tell yourself that sun will rise, but the city isn't done with you. Yet because Rome doesn't grant survival, it demands it, 1 minute at a time. Dawn doesn't come all at once. It seeps through the cracks in broken tiles, through the slats in warped shutters, through doorways with no doors and windows that never had glass to begin with. The light is pale, like a cloth that's been washed too many times, soft and grey and slow. But even before it reaches your eyes, you feel it. The air shifts, the wind loses its edge, and the city stirs not with joy or greeting, but with duty. You uncurl from your resting place. Your back protests, your feet up stiff. The stones beneath you have left a map of bruises pressed into your skin. You sit for a long moment, blinking into the changing light. You survive the night, barely, but you are not reborn. You are not stronger, just more hollow, a little thinner in the soul. You rise, and the city begins to move. Not quickly, Rome wakes the way an old beast does, groaning, creaking with its teeth, still clenched. Somewhere nearby, a shutter creaks open. Then another. A merchant sweeps his threshold with a bundle of reeds. A woman empties a pot into the gutter. The street doesn't sparkle, it steams. The night smells aren't gone. They're simply pushed aside to make room for new ones. Fresh bread, dung, sweat, olive oil, vinegar dot. It's morning, but it is not clean. A boy runs past, barefoot, holding a bundle of cloth. He doesn't look at you. No one does. You are just another figure on the edge of their vision. Just another ghost who didn't vanish in the dark. You move with them, not because you know where to go, but because it's easier than standing still. The street widens ahead. A crossroads. Market stalls are being unpacked, their canvas covers folded back to reveal baskets of turnips, figs, bundles of wilted herbs. Not a feast, just enough. Enough to trade, enough to stretch one more day into another. A pair of women argue over a sack of onions. A butcher sharpens his knife on a curved stone. A girl dumps a basket of spoiled dates into the gutter and wipes, her hands on her tunic. None of them slept well. You can see it in their posture. Rome doesn't allow it. Sleep is for those with brick beneath their heads and bolts on their doors. 4 citizens with sealed amphorae, and fathers in the Senate. For those who can afford to forget the dark, you move on. You pass a public fountain. Its water is clearer now, or maybe just brighter in the morning light. A man is washing his face. In it, you do the same. The cold stings your skin, wakes your senses just enough to feel the weight of your body again. You drink, and for a moment, just a breath, it feels like peace. Then the footsteps begin to gather. More and more people moving. Toward the forum, to temples, to workshops, to courtyards where clients wait for patrons to drop coins into their outstretched hands. This is Rome in motion. Not noble, not imperial, just human. And you are swept into it like a pebble in a river. You pass a bread seller tearing hunks from a charred wheel, shouting the price without looking anyone in the eye. You pass slaves carrying water jugs on their backs, their chains rusting but still binding. You pass children sweeping stones into corners. A man sharpening a plow blade beside a shrine. Everyone is already working, even the beggars, even the ones who didn't make it through the night. A body lies near the steps of a bathhouse, covered with a thin cloth, not hidden, just ignored. Someone will move it. Soon, not for respect, but because there's commerce to be done. You pause, only for a moment, long enough to feel the hum of the day beginning, long enough to wonder why anyone would choose this life. And then you remember, they didn't. No one here chose to be Roman. They were born into it, pressed between walls of stone and hunger, shaped by it, flattened by it. Some fight, some serve, some vanish, and some, like you, wander through it, half invisible, just trying to breathe. You keep walking past the temples now, past the statues. They look different in daylight, still beautiful, still towering, but colder, less alive. Their marble eyes no longer glow with reflected flame. They stare past you, past everyone. You stop in the shadow of a god you don't recognize. He holds a spear in one hand. A serpent coils beneath his feet. You wonder what he protects. If anything, you wonder if he saw you in the night, and if he did, why he didn't reach down. You whisper nothing, because Rome has taught you how little words mean here. Everything is gesture, motion, endurance. You step into the crowd. Again, the sun has risen. The streets are full. But you are not home, and you are not whole. Because what you've survived wasn't just a night in a foreign city. It was a city that never wanted you to survive it in the first place. And now you must walk among those who do it every day, without praise, without mercy, just because they must. The sunlight is gold now. Not bright gold. Not the kind that sings or sparkles. It's the sort of gold that clings like oil, heavy and slow, warming the stone from the inside out. The marble statues begin to glow. Their faces, once so blank in the moonlight, now seem to shift, becoming proud, watchful, a little cruel. You don't look them in the eye. You're not ready to meet the gaze of gods, who never sleep. The forum is coming alive. Vendors shout, senators pass under shaded litters. Slaves sweep. The flagstones clean with palm fronds. Scribes dip their brushes into ink and unfurl scrolls beneath awnings where the sun can't burn the parchment. A boy runs by with a tablet clutched in both hands, almost tripping over his own tunic. A woman scolds him in Greek. You realize that this city speaks in many tongues. Latin, of course, but also Greek, Punic, Oscan, Syriac, and languages you don't even recognize. Words bounce from wall to wall like birds startled from a tree. None of them are meant for you. You are not part of this chorus. You are just a silence moving through it, and no one notices. Silence, here you drift to the edge of the forum. The temples tower overhead. Their columns rise like trees, white as bone, shadowed. With age, you stand in the shade of one, maybe to rest, maybe to disappear inside. You glimpse the flame, the sacred fire, tended by the Vestal virgins, watched by generations, untouched by the wind. It flickers behind an iron gate. Not loud, not bright, just steady. That fire never goes out. Not ever. Rome has seen to it. Even when the rest of the world crumbles. That flame must burn, and somehow that terrifies you more than anything else. Because it means this city is not allowed to sleep. Not for a moment, not even now. You move again, not far, just to the side, where a group of men stands listening to a speaker on a plinth. His robe is loose, his hands wide. He's preaching something not religion, but politics. You can't follow all the words. They tumble too quickly, too confidently. The crowd nods, some mutter. One laughs, too loud. You step away, because Rome doesn't care what you think. It cares who listens to you, and you are no one here. You pass an old man leaning against a column, chewing dried figs with a face like sun-baked leather. He doesn't blink, just watches you with a look that says, without needing words, you don't belong. He's right, you don't. You duck into a side street, away from the sun, away from the gaze of gods and senators and orators. The alley is cool, quieter. You pause near a doorway where a pair of young boys sit playing with knuckle bones from sheep, worn smooth from use. They throw them, laugh, argue over who won. Their tunics are torn, their knees scraped. They glance at you only once, then go back to their game. They are not afraid of you, because you are not. Dangerous, you are just lost. And the city has no use for those who don't know where they're going. A woman passes with a tray balanced on her head, steam rising from clay bowls of porridge. She doesn't stop, doesn't speak. Her sandals slap the stone in time with her breath. Everywhere you look, someone is doing something. Hauling, boiling, boiling, lifting, baking, preparing, baking, repairing even. The pigeons have work searching gutters for crumbs, dodging carts, building nests from rags and straw. But you are adrift, because surviving the night in ancient Rome is not the same as living in it. Living takes more than breath. It takes knowing where to stand, who to nod to, when to speak, what to trade, how to vanish. You haven't learned any of that. Not really. You walk, because walking is what your body remembers. The sun rises higher. The shadows shorten. The heat deepens, not a blaze, but a pressure. A quiet weight that settles in the crooks of your arms and beneath your eyes. You sweat, and the dust clings. Your feet blister in places you didn't know could blister. The street you're on ends at a public latrine. Stone seats in a long row, cut into a marble bench. No walls between them. No privacy. A slave boy sits near the trough with a sponge on a stick, soaking in vinegar water. The stench is awful, sharp, rancid, but no one seems to mind it is. After all, part of the city, you turn away. You don't need more reminders that comfort is a modern lie. You find another street, another curve, and for a moment, just a moment you hear singing, not clear, not beautiful, but warm. A woman's voice, deep with wear, steady as river current. It comes from a courtyard behind a gate. You pause, glimpse her through the slats. She's hanging wet linen in the sun. A baby sleeps in a basket near her feet. She sings while she works, not because anyone listens, but because Rome doesn't stop for grief, and she has to keep moving, just like you. You nod to her, though she doesn't see, then walk on, because that's what this city does to you. It doesn't break you all at once. It wears you down, stone by stone, step by step, and you are only halfway through the day. The sun is higher now, and with it comes noise. Not the wild chaos of night, but the deliberate clatter of a city in motion. Carts rumble over uneven stone. Wheels squeal under the weight of amphorae filled with fish sauce or oil. The thump of sandals echoes in the narrow alleys, merging with the drone of voices that seems to rise from the stones themselves. Rome speaks in layers, not just in words, but in glances, gestures, silences. You hear it in the way someone mutters, in Greek, under their breath while sweeping a stoop. You see it in the slight bow of a slave's shoulders as a patrician passes. You feel it in the pause that happens whenever a stranger like you comes to. Close. You are not invisible. You are simply beneath notice. You wander into a shaded portico near a temple, not one of the grand ones, but a smaller shrine tucked between homes and dye shops. There is a statue inside, its face eroded by time, its features blurred until it seems more like a memory than a god. You don't know its name. No one has bothered to repaint the inscription in years. Still, someone has left offerings, a clay lamp, a dried fig, a bit of wool tied into a knot, not because they believe the god is listening, but because they cannot risk that it might be. Superstition breathes more deeply in the daylight than you expected. It hides behind reason, behind custom, but it lives in the corners. Every door has a protective charm. Every shop displays its patron deity in miniature, carved into wood or painted on plaster. Some of them wear gold leaf that flakes away in the heat. They are watching, and everyone knows it. You sit on the edge of a dry fountain. A crack runs along its side, crusted with limescale and dust. A dog sleeps beneath it, ribs sharp under its skin, tail flicking every few breaths. A pair of matrons pass you by, their stolas long and their veils drawn low over their brows. You catch only fragments of their conversation words about a neighbor's son, a stolen bracelet, a wedding delayed by omens. Their voices drop when they see you, not out of fear, out of calculation. Rome is a city where people measure each other constantly. Wealth, rank, accent, skin, shoes, posture. You are not legible to them, so they pass without nodding, and the silence between you grows longer. You move on, not far, just around the corner, where sunlight catches on polished marble steps. A domos, a private home. You shouldn't be near it, not this close, but the door is open, and the voices from within draw you nearer. It's a woman's voice now, clear, strong, a little weary. She is reciting something, poetry, perhaps. The language is Old Latin, the kind that doesn't bend easily to common speech. She pauses now and then, correcting herself. Another voice, a girl's, repeats the line back to her. This is a lesson, a patrician girl being taught her. Father's tongue, you can't see them, you only hear. But it's enough to feel the world they live in. Inside that house is mosaic flooring and cushions and a private bath fed by an aqueduct. Inside is olive oil for the skin and honeyed cakes for breakfast. Inside is a life where the night you've just endured never happens. Because inside, you are protected. Out here, you are not. You leave before anyone sees you. You walk with more care now. The heat curls between buildings like smoke. The air tastes dusty. You pull your tunic tighter, as if cloth could shield you from the weight of being out of place. Then comes the market again. A different one this time. Smaller, more frantic. No grand arches, no columns. Just wooden stalls, hammered together with nails that have seen too many summers. Fish laid out on woven mats. Eels squirming in clay pots. Chickpeas, wilted greens. Broken jugs filled with vinegar and herbs dot here. The sounds are different, sharper. Barter is not a polite conversation. It's a contest. A woman slaps a gourd out of a merchant's hand and points at another. A boy shouts about bread as if his voice alone could sell it. To old men argue over the color of an egg. You stop, not to shop, to listen. Because this is where Rome truly lives. Not in temples, not in courts, but here in the stink of onions. The grease on fingers, the scratch of scales against baskets. You were jostled once, then again. No one apologizes. You are learning, slowly, but not fast enough. You leave the market behind and find a quiet lane. Quieter, at least. Laundry hangs above. Your head, white linens, tunics, a child's rag doll. They sway in the breeze, casting brief shadows on your face as you pass beneath. A bird sings, a real one this time. Not a voice or a whisper, just a sound that belongs only to itself. You pause again, close your eyes, let the light press against your lids like warm parchment, and for one breath, you forget where you are. But Rome doesn't forget. Not for a moment. It waits, it watches, and it wears you thinner with every step. The sun now stands overhead, and with it comes the stillness. Not peace, just a kind of heavy pause. The kind that presses on rooftops and sills, making everything slow. It is the hour of heat and dust. The hour when even the stones seem to sweat. Rome is not a city built for quiet, and yet now, in the blaze of noon, it goes silent in a different way. A hotter way, a more fragile way. You walk more slowly now, not because you're tired, though you are, but because you've learned to move like the people here, conserving strength, watching shadows, using the shade that walls and awnings provide. No one moves quickly in this hour unless they are paid to, or punished to. You pass a BATHHOUSE. The doors are propped open to let out the steam, but the air that escapes is still thick and warm, like a second atmosphere. Inside, it is dim, golden, with lamplight, echoing with the murmurs of low conversation. You aren't allowed in, not without payment, not without standing. You step back into the street and continue. Children run past you, shouting, chasing a ball made from bundled rags. Their feet are bare, their laughter shrill. It rises into the stillness like a flag. A mother leans from a second-story window and scolds them half-heartedly. A dog barks once and lies back down in the dust. The street turns, the walls lean closer, and now you are somewhere else. Still in the city, yes, but in a space that feels more brittle, more watched. The buildings are plain here, no marble, no color, just clay and wood and the smell of boiled grain. This is a working street, a place where no one stops to admire the view. You pass a tannery. The stench punches the air, rotting. hides soaking in urine and lime. A man with leather-stained arms slaps a skin against a board with practiced rhythm. He doesn't look at you. He's been doing this longer than you've been alive. He'll be doing it long after you've gone. Across the lane, a woman grinds grain with a handstone. The motion is circular, endless. Her knuckles are wrapped with cloth to stop the skin from breaking again. She hums, just barely, not a tune, just sound to keep time. There are no crowds here, no. Voices raised, just labor and breath and heat. You feel your own skin tightening, the dust cakes your neck. Your lips are cracked. You try not to lick, the mitt only makes things worse. A man passes you with a yoke across his shoulders, buckets swinging from either side. Water sloshes from the rims with each step. He leaves wet footprints behind him that vanish in seconds. Rome has no sympathy for thirst, only water for sale. You find a corner and sit for a moment. Your knees are sore, your shoulders tight. You lean back against the wall and close your eyes. But Rome does not offer rest. A vendor's cart creaks nearby, and a whip cracks just beyond the next street. You hear a man shout something crude. A woman answers with a string of curses, and then the silence returns, like a tide swallowing voices. It's not the kind of quiet you can sleep in. It's the kind that watches you, the kind that waits so you rise again, and walk again and walked again. Your body doesn't protest anymore. It simply follows. Your feet take you to another square, this one lined with statues, less pristine than the ones in the Forum, more worn, more human. One has lost its nose. Another leans forward as if listening. They look like men who once mattered and have since been forgotten. Their names are carved in Latin, that's fading. You read what you can and wonder if they expected to last this long. No one stops to look at them now. A boy leans his back against one's legs. While he chews a fig, a dog sleeps at another's base. History isn't sacred here, it's scenery. The sun begins to dip, not far, just slightly, but enough that the shadows lengthen again. Enough that shopkeepers look up from their ledgers. Enough that the air feels like it's exhaling. The second half of the day has begun. The vendors return to their stalls. A woman slaps dust from a rug. A man rolls a cart back into place and arranges clay jugs in a line. You smell rosemary and vinegar and something fried. People are eating now. Not lavishly, just enough. Bread, olives, little fish dried in the sun. Things that keep you alive, but never full. You reach into your pocket. You have nothing to trade, so you walk past the food, past the water, past the places where warmth lingers. You settle on a low wall at the edge of the square and listen to the click of sandals, the scrape of pots, the sighs that people don't realize they're making, and you feel it, finally, not comfort, not safety, but understanding. This city isn't trying to kill you, it's trying to shape you with silence, with sweat, with the small daily fires that burn not in temples, but in kitchens, in kilns, in the bodies of people who do what they must, hour after hour, and you are not built for that. Not yet. The light begins to lean, not vanish, not yet, but stretch. It glances longer across rooftops, pooling in alleyways, curling around columns like it's reluctant to leave. The golden glow you barely noticed at midday begins to soften. Fade. Rome is preparing to lie, not to rest, but to pretend. The streets shift first. The clamor of midday softens into a murmur. Market cries grow rare. Carts begin to vanish. Buckets are tipped. Doors are drawn. You hear a broom on stone, one slow drag at a time a child is called inside. Someone laughs in a way that says they're forcing it, and overhead, the color of the sky begins to betray you. The sun, once a brute presence, becomes something else, gentle, even apologetic. But the apology is meaningless now. You've seen what happens after light leaves Rome. You cross the square again, but it's not the same place anymore. The statues are now just shapes. Their outlines blur. The cracks in their faces seem deeper, like they've aged since you last looked. The boy and the dog are gone. The space they left behind somehow feels colder than shadow. You keep walking, not because you know where to go, but because stillness here is dangerous in the daylight. You are invisible, but in the evening, when the edges blur, even shadows are expected to belong somewhere, and you don't. A man bumps your shoulder hard enough to jolt your spine. He doesn't turn to apologize. He doesn't even glance back. Just keeps walking, head down, carrying a basket covered in coarse cloth. You hear something clink beneath it. Glass, maybe, or something sharper. You don't ask. You stop beneath a faded awning. A small window opens above you. A girl leans out and pours water from a clay jug, letting it splash into a gutter that runs alongside the street. She looks down at you once. Her eyes are wary, not scared, just watchful. You nod. Instinctively, she vanishes. The shutter closes, and you're alone again. The wind has shifted. It carries a different scent now. Less heat, more oil. Meat roasting in someone's home maybe. Or in a street kitchen, where the fire is kept low and the scraps are stretched to feed a crowd. You follow it, not out of hunger, but out of memory. Some part of you wants to believe that food means safety, warmth, shelter, but in Rome, food is not a comfort, it's a transaction, a calculation, a moment of relief, if you're lucky. You reach a small stall built from scavenged wood and stone. A brazier glows inside, flickering beneath a pot you can't see into. A man stands beside it, stirring. His hands are burnt black at the knuckles. His face shines with sweat. You step closer, but he shakes his head before you. Speak, not cruelly, just firmly. You have nothing to offer, so you step back, and the scent fades behind you. You pass another doorway where voices rise and fall quick, hushed, urgent. A woman steps out and throws a glance your way before disappearing around the corner. Her shawl trails behind her like smoke. No one walks aimlessly now. Everyone has purpose, or at least, they've learned how to look like they do. You haven't, and the city notices. You find another alley, narrower, quieter. The shadows here are thicker, more complete. They aren't just shade, they're concealment. You slow your steps. You watch your corners. A rat scurries across your foot and vanishes into a crack. You don't flinch. You're learning, too late. Maybe, but still, you reach a wall mottled with mold and scratched with names, half erased by weather. Someone has drawn a figure in charcoal. A woman, maybe, or a goddess. Her eyes are hollow. Her arms are open. You touch the stone. Briefly, it's cold now, and the light behind you has shrunk. Only a thread of color left in the sky. You don't know the time, but you know what comes next. The city begins to fold inward. Shutters slam. Doors lock. The streets empty faster now. Even the dogs vanish. The corners fill with something less than silence. You feel the night rising like a tide. Slowly, steadily reaching. A guard patrol passes. 2 men with torches. Leather straps across their chests. clubs at their sides. They don't see you, or maybe they do and choose to ignore you. Either way, you press yourself to the wall and wait. Their footsteps echo for a long time. You step out again. The stones feel different now, slicker, not from rain, from oil, from where you don't know where to go. You only know where not to be, not in the forum, not near the baths, not in the open. You follow your own shadow until it vanishes, and then you listen. The sounds of Rome at dusk are not loud. They're careful, a whisper here, a lock sliding shut, the distant bark of a dog that's too far to help. And then for a moment nothing. The city stops breathing, and you feel it. Rome is pretending to sleep, but you know. Better because the night is about to begin again, and this time you already know how it ends. The last light has gone. There's no ceremony, no fading trumpet, no slow curtain fall. One moment the rooftops glow with amber, and the next they don't. The sky becomes something ancient again. Not night, not yet, but the mouth of it. And as that mouth opens wider, the city begins to whisper. The people still on the streets speak less now. When they do, it's close to the ear. Heads bent, shoulders hunched. Words traded like coins. It is no longer safe to talk freely, or loudly, or to linger. You can't help but glance behind. You now not because you hear anything, but because you've learned to expect it. The city doesn't forget who wandered through it. It simply waits to see if you'll come back. The cobblestones beneath your feet feel harder tonight. Your sandals have thinned. Your steps echo in ways they didn't yesterday. Or maybe it's that the city is quieter. Listening more carefully, you turn down a street you don't remember. Not a mistake, just a necessity. Because the places you knew in daylight are not the same places now. The butcher's stall is gone, shuttered and silent. The market square is dark, except for a single lamp swinging. Outside a tavern, the shadows are deeper. They remember things the sun never sees, and you are starting to remember them, too. You find yourself near a small archway, a crumbling one, too narrow for a cart. Maybe once part of a garden wall. Beyond it is a space that pretends to be a courtyard, a broken fountain, a few pots, the scent of spilled wine and boiled lentils. You sit for a breath, but not long, because this is not a resting place. It is a remembering place. You feel it in the stones. This city is layered, not just in buildings, but in memory. Each alley holds a story, not the grand ones you find in scrolls or statues. The other kind, the ones no one wrote down, because they happened to people no one noticed, and the city remembers them anyway. You think of the figure scrawled on that wall, the charcoal goddess with open arms. Was she drawn in hope or warning? You rise and walk again, down another narrow path. A voice drifts across the rooftops. Not speech, just a note, a hum. Maybe a lullaby. Maybe just the way someone passes the time while folding cloth in the dark. You don't follow it, because you've learned that not every song wants an audience. The door opens. You freeze. A man steps out, pulling a hood over his head. He doesn't see you, but you see the knife at his side, not drawn, just waiting. You let him pass. You count to 10 before moving again. This is not fear. This is survival. You find yourself at the edge of a neighborhood where the houses are smaller, fewer tiles on the roofs, fewer windows, less wood to burn, less oil for lamps. But the smell of the air is cleaner here. Bread baked earlier still clings to the door frames. A fire crackles behind a wall you can't see past. Children whisper to each other from a loft. You pause again, not from exhaustion, but from something else, a kind of longing. This is what you thought ancient Rome would be. Simple, honest, familiar, and in some ways, it is. But what you never understood was the price, not the price of living here, the price of surviving a night. You think back to the moment you first stepped onto these streets, when the sky was blue, when voices filled the square, when the statues watched over everything, and the light told you who you were. You are not that person anymore. Rome has seen to that. Your body aches. Your thoughts are quieter now, slower. You no longer expect warmth or food or welcome. You expect movement, and shadows and cold. And in that expectation, you begin to blend in. A little, just enough. You cross another threshold, a low street with walls stained by smoke. Ahead, you see a woman gathering kindling in a basket. She glances at you once, then nods, almost imperceptibly. You return the gesture. Neither of you speaks. Because in this hour, words are luxury. The language now is gestures, glances, choices. You pass, and for the first time, you don't feel like an intruder, just a traveler, a shadow among shadows, a heartbeat inside the chest of a city that never fully sleeps. Behind you, the lamp outside the tavern flickers. Ahead, another alley curves into blackness. You follow it because there is nowhere else, and because Rome never forgets what the darkness remembers. The night deepens, not with noise, but with a density that has nothing to do with air. The streets are no darker than they were an hour ago, but they feel heavier, like something is pressing down on the rooftops. The wind no longer moves. The torches burn more slowly. Your steps make no sound at all. This is the part of the night that stretches, the hour that pretends it's only 1, but drags on like 5. You are walking slower, now not because you choose to, because your body insists. You've crossed streets you don't remember, past doorways that repeat like dreams. One corner looks like the last, one shadow leads to another. You wonder if you've been here already, or if Rome is beginning to close in. You stop near a public fountain. It's dry now, the flow of water cut off by someone you'll never meet, for reasons you'll never know. What remains is a basin, stained and chipped with the smell of rust in the cracks. Someone has tossed an olive pit in the center. It lies there, alone. You sit beside it for just a breath and listen to nothing. But it's not the nothing of sleep. It's the nothing that comes before something worse. Somewhere nearby, you hear a voice, not words, just a sharp grunt, followed by hurried footsteps. You don't look, that's one of the rules. In this part of the night, there are rules you learn quickly or not at all. Never ask what you didn't see. Never follow a sound you don't understand. Never trust a silence that's too still, and never stop too long. You rise again. A back door opens. Light spills onto the stones, yellow, flickering, alive. Then just as quickly, it vanishes. Someone has stepped out, or in. You don't wait to see. Your eyes are adjusting now. You see better in the dark than before. Not clearly, but enough. Enough to know where to place your foot next. Enough to see where the wall gives way to a ditch, where the stones are wet. With more than rain, you make your way toward a side street that coils between buildings. Like a sleeping snake, there's no light here at all. Just shapes, just sounds. A man mutters to himself, crouched over something in a cloth bundle. A woman sits, with her back to the wall, her legs pulled up beneath her robe, her chin on her knees. She doesn't move, not even to acknowledge you. You don't disturb her, you keep going. You reach a crossroads, for ways out, for directions. All of them dark. There are no signs, no markings, only the faint memory of the city map in your head. But even if you knew which way led to safety, if such a place existed, you wouldn't be able to trust it, because in this hour, Rome shifts. Not physically, but spiritually. It becomes less a city, more a presence. Not cruel, just immense. Vast in a way. Your body doesn't know how to comprehend. You pick a direction that leftmost, because your feet turn that way before you can argue. The street curves again, and you find yourself in a wider lane. You recognize something here. A column with a crack running down its face. A bit of red graffiti half scrubbed off. A fig tree growing stubbornly from a rooftop. Crack. You've been here before, or near here. Or maybe you only dreamed it. Rome has that. Power to make dreams and memory blur. To fold your thoughts into its stone-like pressed herbs. Ahead, a brazier glows in a metal cage. Someone tends it, a man with deep lines in his face and a missing ear. He turns the coals with a stick and mutters under his breath. You pass him, he doesn't stop you, but you feel him watching, not out of malice, just curiosity. You are still new here, still not a part of this night. You stop beneath a window. There's light behind it, a lantern swinging gently, casting yellow swirls across the curtain. You listen. Someone breathes, slowly, rhythmically, asleep. Or sleep. You envy them. Not because they're safe. No one here is truly safe. But because they be surrendered. They've let go of the effort you still carry. The effort to belong, to understand, to survive. It's heavier now than when the night began. You lean against the wall and let your head rest. Back. Your eyes close for one moment, just one, but the air shifts again. Not a sound, not a movement, just the feeling that something else has entered the street. You open your eyes. Nothing. Only Rome. Only the city that forgets you. Until it suddenly dots. You step away from the wall and start walking again. Not fast, not with purpose, just because the night won't carry you unless you move. The hour is nameless now. It no longer belongs to night or morning. It exists in between. Not quite the end of one world, not yet the start of another. The streets are nearly empty. Even the shadows have softened. The noises have grown stranger, fewer. Voices, more creaks of timber, the distant shuffle of unseen feet. You keep walking, not because you know where to go, but because to stop now would feel like admitting something, that the city has won, that it has absorbed you completely. Your limbs are numb with fatigue. Your eyes sting. You are less a person now than a pattern, a shape moving through streets it was never meant to understand. But Rome doesn't care. It watches all its shapes and remembers the ones that last. You pass under another arch. Moss clings to the stones here. The air is cooler. You hear dripping water. Someone has lit a small lamp in a niche offering, perhaps. A curl of smoke rises from it, silver and thin, curling like a breath from the earth. You watch it for a while, then keep going. The sky above you has begun to pale. Not entirely, but in streaks dull, silver creeping behind the black. The stars are still there, but fading. The moon is low, swollen and yellow like fruit bruised too long. You turn another corner and see the Forum again. Not bright, not empty, but waiting. Its columns still stand. Its statues still face the same direction they always did. A sweep of wind carries dust across the stones, then stills. A lone slave moves through the space, clearing refuse with a brush made of bound reeds. He does not see you, or pretends not to. That is the wisdom of Rome, not to acknowledge what might draw attention. You move along the edge of the Forum, slower than before, your sandals scuffing the flagstones. You pass a temple whose doors are still shut. The sacred fire inside is likely still burning. Someone has kept it fed through the night, just as someone always does. That is the rhythm of this place. Not sleep, but duty. You realize you haven't spoken in hours, not a word. Your voice has become a private thing, tucked away inside your ribs like a secret. Would it even come if you called for it? You pass a sleeping man curled near a public latrine. He wears a tattered cloak, his feet bare, one hand clenched tight around a bit of cloth. You know better than to approach. Even kindness is dangerous here. You keep walking. You cross a bridge. The Tiber below is still. Its surface reflects nothing. Now, not the stars, not the lamp glow. It just moves, slow and dark and endless. A barge floats downstream without a sound, its sail folded. No one on board, or perhaps still to see. You are nearing the edge of the city, or maybe just the edge of yourself. You, V, lasted longer than you thought you would, longer than most would. But survival in Rome is not about lasting, it's about belonging, and you don't. Not yet, not really. A cock crows somewhere. Then again, closer. The night is lifting, not like a curtain, but like breath. The sky turns from silver to blue, a weak, thin blue dot. The kind that still holds the nights, sent in its folds. You find a stair and sit dot at the base of a wall worn smooth by generations of hands. You let your head fall forward. Your eyes close, just for a moment. And when they open again, the city has changed. Children appear, sweeping doorways. Shopkeepers begin to unbolt shutters. A man whistles as he carries baskets to the market square. A woman pours water over stone to settle the dust. The city pretends it has just woken, but you know better, it never slept. And now that you've made it through, Rome smiles, not with warmth, with recognition. You are part of it now, not because you were accepted, but because you endured. And that's what this city remembers. Not your name, not your face, just your footsteps. On its stones, you rise again, not stronger, not wiser, but still here. And in Rome, that is enough.